Hi, I'm Coach Colin. I'm here to help you master your leadership. Let me ask you a question. Does your team behave in a civilized way? You might wonder why I'm asking you this question. Because if you're a department manager, a project manager, a team leader, or running a business, and I would be working with you as a coach, I would be looking to see whether your team is working in a civilized way. Now, you might be wondering why that is so essential. Well, it is, because it shows me the level of maturity of your people. That might be interesting for you to think about. Because what typically managers get wrong is that they think that a good, well-behaved team is mature, it is effective. But in fact, quite the opposite is true. Because a civilized team is like a group of people who are well-behaved, they are polite to each other, they give each other space, yes. But you might want to ask yourself, where then is the passion? Where are the feeling of something is perhaps not right? What happens to the fear of not doing something or never being able to do something? What happens with the anxiety of not being able to be successful? What happens with those emotions? You see, a team that is behaving civilized, that is polite to each other and not challenging and not sharing how they feel, they're actually only a group of people. Like over here, where you have a group of people sitting in a room and everybody is trying to protect themselves. Everybody is feeling insecure. Everybody is looking to see whether they can trust somebody else. Everybody is a little fearful, not knowing exactly what is going to happen next. And in this situation, where your team might be still a group of people, you might want to ask yourself, well, how passionate are they then? How engaged are they? How much do they want to really succeed? Because if you have a team like over here, you suddenly realize that everybody has their passion. Everybody would like to succeed. Everybody would like to bring everybody along to be at their best at every moment of this journey. Because it is important. It is essential. Which means that over here, the people would challenge each other to show up at their best, to make sure that everything gets done so that the common goals that the team is trying to achieve, that they are really fulfilled. Now you see, some managers, they think, well, that is exactly what team development is about. So I have to give the team space so that they can develop. They have to figure out. There is this principle of FIRO where a team has to grow together. And what they do then, they step out of this process and let the team work it out. And what they miss in this situation is two things. First of all, they are part of the team. So if they step in and out of this process where the team is developing, they're disturbing the process. But the second thing is even more important. Because if you're a project manager or a department head or running a business, you don't really have time for this process to continue forever. Because literally speaking, you don't know how long this process is going to run. And specifically, if you step in and out of that team and you have an influence on the process, it starts over and it takes even longer. And the effect of that is that your team during this process is not effective. because they haven't figured out how to do things, they haven't figured out how they can help each other, they haven't figured out how to communicate amongst each other, they haven't figured out how to trust each other. And when they haven't figured out these things, you should be very worried as a manager, because you know that if your team hasn't figured out how they're going to work together, they're losing time. And if you're committed as a project manager or department manager, if you're committed to deliver to a result, to a certain amount, to a certain time, whether it is a delivery of a product, whether it is the improvement of quality of the deliveries, whether it is against the customer expectation, whether it is on a cost cut project, an improvement project, or on revenues. There is a deadline here at the end, right? There is a stake in the calendar to which you need to deliver, which means you need a working team focusing on that deadline. And if you allow this process literally to go on forever, you can then only explain in the end why you didn't succeed. And this is a huge change for managers. Because as a manager, you would then want to think about, well, okay, if my team is behaved and they're civilized, but I want to have them passionate about reaching the target, what has to change? Because the thing that has to change is that you would want to lead this group of people to go through that process, not only to deliver in an effective way, but also to collaborate in an effective way. And the reason why you should be worried is something that I discovered when I was researching how I was going to coach and train this good group of managers that I documented here in my book, Speaking the Language of Leadership, so that they could become great leaders. Because what I discovered is that a team that is very well behaved is the basis of a team that is not working. Because there is no trust in this team. And the trust that I mean in this case, what I discovered is there is no trust in, if I say something, I don't trust you because I don't know how you are going to react. And that is why everybody then in the team prefers to stay safe and not say anything. And what is not being said then is, of course, an opinion around how things should be done, sharing an experience, sharing an emotion, that they're uncertain whether this is going to work or whether they're fearful to try it out. And when they're not sharing, that means that you as a manager, when you're leading your team, you will not get the best contribution from everyone. You will not get the best solution that you need to succeed in the end. And that is when I was reading from Professor Schulz von Thun from the University in Hamburg around communication psychologies for managers, because he created this very nice word that defined this civilized behavior. Because he created this word that he referred to as Friedhöflichkeit. It's a word creation out of, in the German, which is created out of two words. Friedhof, which is a cemetery, and Höflichkeit, which is being polite. It is describing the atmosphere that you would have on a cemetery. Everybody, you can imagine this picture, everybody is staying within their own little frame of reference. Nobody is stepping out. Nobody is saying something to their neighbor. Nobody is mentioning or challenging or whatever. Everybody is staying in their little frame. And it is peaceful. And everybody who goes around the cemetery, they speak softly, they are respectful, and nothing really important gets said. Friedhöflichkeit. It's the politeness of a team that is dead to their emotions, that is dead to their passions. Think about that. Is that a team that you would want? A team that is dead to their passions? This is not a word that I created. You can read it up. Friedhöflichkeit. But if you're a leader of a team, if you would want to have this group of people with their individual experience, their individual ideas, their individual way of doing things, to be passionate about the common goal that you want to achieve and that you're expected to deliver upon, being civilized and polite is not an option. But the other side of being civilized and polite, you might be thinking, is not an option either. And that is correct. Because what people automatically think about is that the other side of being civilized and polite is being aggressive and challenging and putting other people down and winning the argument. But that is not what I mean. The other side of being civilized and being polite is trusting people, being open about the emotions, being passionate about the outcome, without putting other people down, without disagreeing with their opinions, without being disrespectful. All that can change if you can help the team to build trust in when I say something that I find important, I know how you are going to react. Because if there's no trust in these teams, you know that there is no passion, and you know there is no focus on the goals. Which means that if you want to lead your team to success, you would want to take a careful look at how they are communicating. Because if they are behaving in a polite and civilized way, talking softly without passion, you would want to start leading your team. And in this situation, I would look to see how is your team communicating, to have an idea. Do they trust each other, or are they still polite to each other? Because if they're still polite to each other, in the end, the results that you get when you're explaining at the end of the delivery time what your stakeholders are going to get, those results, you can only explain them, but you cannot be sure that you will get them. That is why it's important to take a close look at your team. How passionate are they? And still being respectful. And if you would like to know more about how you really want to do these, there are methods, there are tools how to build up this trustful communication with your team so that your team can be more focused on what needs to be delivered. And if you would like to learn more about these things, then continue following It's 4 Sides of Leadership. Because I'm Coach Colin, and I am here to help you master your leadership. Take care and have a safe journey, and always lead your team.